Please rise. Municipal Court for the City of Stoughton is now in session. The Honorable Matthew T. Rothey presiding.
Please be seated. We'll call the court to order at this time. Please remove all hats, silence all cell phones, and conversation must cease. My name is Matt Rothey. I'm the multi-jurisdictional judge for the City of Stoughton, towns of Dunkirk, Pleasant Springs, and Rutland. I'd like to go through some of the procedures we follow here in our courtroom. These procedures should be available to you in the pamphlet as you enter the courtroom. When your case is called, please come forward. We take pleas tonight. The three plea options are guilty, no contest, or not guilty. If you enter a guilty or no contest plea, I'll review your citation, make sure that there's a factual basis, and then find you guilty, and I'll impose an appropriate forfeiture. A plea of no contest is similar to a guilty plea, except a conviction arising from a no contest plea cannot be used against you in a subsequent hearing. Now let me explain that in a different way. Say if you're involved in a traffic accident and you receive a citation, if you enter a no contest plea, the person, if they sue you later for damages, can't use that no contest plea against you. So the forfeiture ranges from $20 to $10,000. However, almost all are within the $50 to $200 range. The state mandates that we add cost to your forfeiture. For example, a $50 forfeiture results in a total cost of $124. I'll grant you 30 days to pay the fine. If you need additional time, please let me know and we'll arrange a payment plan. If you do not pay, I have limited options to collect. Mainly, I can suspend your driver's license for a year, intercept your tax refund, or send your citation to state for collections. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather work out a payment plan. So if you need time to pay more than the 30 days, please let me know and we can arrange that. If you enter a not guilty plea, we'll set your case over to the next court session for a pretrial conference. That date will be April 12, 2017. You'll meet with you and the city attorney will meet to see if you can resolve your citation. At the pretrial conference, I'll review the rules if you're interested and want to enter a not guilty plea. Those of you who are facing traffic offenses should understand that we give you points for most such convictions. If you accumulate 12 or more points in a 12-month period, you'll lose your license to drive. You will also be fined. I'd like you to be aware of some of your rights before you're entering a plea. You have the right to ask for a continuance. This means you can request that your case be set over to find a lawyer or for some other reason. This is a civil court. You're not entitled to a public defender, but you may hire one at your own cost. You also have the right to a trial. Please remember your rights when considering your plea. Those of you charged with operating a motor vehicle while under the influence are entitled to request a jury trial in the circuit court upon payment of the proper fees. All other cases will be handled in this court with the right to appeal my ruling to the Dane County Circuit Court. At this time, we will call our cases. I take people on a first-come, first-served basis. The first person to sign up tonight was Carter Hellenbrand. Mr. Hellenbrand, do I have your correct address in Stonecrest Road in Stoughton?
Yep.
All right. You've been cited for failure to yield a right-of-way from a stop sign. That citation carries a penalty of $98.80 and 4 demerit points issued your driver's license. Let me check the forfeiture range on this. Even though you're at $98.80, there usually is a range for these citations. So if you're found guilty, you could penalize the range, although I usually go by what's the posted amount is. Just to give you a minute, sir. Yeah, the forfeiture range on this is $20 to $50. Okay. And then in addition to failure to yield a right-of-way, you could be subject to having to take a traffic safety class through the Department of Transportation. That's not something that I can control. And that could be the case defendants have told me sometimes they get a letter and sometimes they don't, so you might be subject to an additional class from the Department of Transportation. Okay. Do you understand that additional class?
Yes.
All right. Do you understand what failure to yield a right-of-way from a stop sign is?
Yes.
All right. You understand the forfeiture of $98.80 and 4 demerit points issued your driver's license?
Yes.
All right. Let me ask you this. Are you, do you have a probationary license?
Yes.
Okay. That means if this is your second, if you get under a probationary license, if you get a second or subsequent citation, in other words, 2 or more, the point totals double on your second and additional citations. You understand that?
Yes.
All right. Any questions for the court?
No.
Now's the time I take the plea. The three plea options are guilty, no contest, or not guilty.
No contest.
You understand that a no contest plea, I must find you guilty?
Yes.
All right. Let me read the police report. I want to make sure I have a factual basis for your plea. You know, the appearance was not mandatory tonight. Did you just want to come and argue about the points or the fine?
Yes.
Okay. I can't control the amount of points and all that. So what I would suggest, if you want to talk, have your points reduced, is enter a not guilty plea and meet with the prosecutor on April 12th. That way, because I can't do anything about reducing the points, but the prosecutor can. You understand that?
Yes.
Do you want to change your plea to a not guilty plea?
No.
Okay. Are you sure you want to enter a no contest plea?
Yes.
All right. Let me read the police report. I want to make sure I have a factual basis for your plea. Okay. I have read the police report. There is a factual basis for your plea. I'll accept your no contest plea and find you guilty. Okay. Anything you'd like to say before I decide on a fine amount?
No.
You just showed up tonight hoping to get the points reduced? Is that right? Okay. Is this your first citation?
Yes.
All right. What did you learn from this incident?
To be more patient.
And a little more mindful?
Yes.
Okay. The minimum forfeiture on this is $20 plus cost. So I will reduce it to the minimum since you showed up tonight and were honest with me and answered all the questions. So the minimum forfeiture will be $86.20. Can you pay for that this evening?
Yes.
All right. I will give you what's called the judgment of conviction. You can take that downstairs to the dispatch window and make payment right away, and that will take care of the matter. That way you don't have to wait 30 days, and I don't have to, you'll be fully paid and won't have to suffer any more consequences. Okay. Any other questions for the court?
No.
All right. That will take care of it for this evening. And the bailiff will Detective Hill will hand you that judgment of conviction, and then that will take care of it then. Thank you. Justin Kirby. Mr. Kirby, do I have your correct address on Main Street in Stoughton?
Yes, sir.
All right. You've been cited for operating a motor vehicle without insurance. This citation carries a penalty of $124. Do you understand what operating without insurance is?
Yes.
Okay. You understand this is a 0-point citation?
Yes.
All right. Let me review the forfeiture range on this. Take me just a minute. Okay, $0 to $500 is the forfeiture range. So you're at $50 plus cost of $124. Any questions for the court?
No, I was just looking maybe if I could get a reduction because I had to let my insurance lapse. I was just running.
Well, here's
a
what
little
I'll do. Let me enter a not guilty plea and talk
Okay.
to the prosecutor. And if you've obtained, do you have a valid insurance now?
Yes, I do.
I'm sure the prosecutor would be interested in that.
Okay.
So we'll schedule this for a not guilty plea and a pretrial conference on April 12th.
Okay.
Pretrial conferences are held downstairs across from it will be in a conference room marked pretrial conferences. Bring the proof of insurance and whatever documents might help your case. I'm sure the prosecutor would be interested in that. Make sure that you appear, because if you don't appear, the prosecutor will tell me that you didn't appear, I'll find you in default and I'll find you guilty and impose that forfeiture then. So,
Okay.
So, especially if you got the insurance right away, I'm sure the prosecutor will want to know that as well. So,
Okay.
Any questions for the court?
No, sir.
All right, I'll have Detective Hill hand you the pretrial conference date on the 12th, and once you receive that, that will take care of it then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Samantha Elizabeth Noir. Leslie. Samantha Elizabeth Leslie Noir. Did I say that right?
Yeah, it's all good.
What's that?
It's all good.
Okay, thank you. Do I have your correct address in Dunkirk Avenue in Stoughton?
Yes, sir.
All right. You've received a citation for operating a motor vehicle without two headlights.
Yes.
This citation carries a penalty of $86.20 and 3 demerit points issued your driver's license. Do you understand what operating a motor vehicle without headlights is?
Yes, sir.
All right, you understand the points of 3 and fine of $86.20?
Yes, sir.
Let me give you the range on this. 1A. It's $10 to $200. So you're at $20 plus cost. You're on the low end of the forfeiture range. Do you understand the fine? Do you understand the nature of the citation as well? Okay. Any questions for the court?
Yes.
Yeah. What question is that?
Why did I only get cited and she didn't?
I
not you?
don't know. The only thing that I know about this is what I've just read to you. I've never seen this case before. So if you have a question about why you were given a citation, nobody else was, or if you received, or if the item has been fixed, what I recommend is people under not guilty plea come back from a pretrial conference then.
It was just an accident, sir, and she got cited when she got hit.
Okay.
So that-
I don't know the circumstances of that,
Not a
so.
problem.
Okay.
That
Do you-
was the only reason we were here.
Okay. Do you understand, so now is the time we take the plea. The 3 plea options are guilty, no contest, or not
contest.
guilty. I'm sorry?
No contest.
Okay. You understand with no contest plea, I must find you guilty?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is this your first citation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've reviewed the police report. There is a factual basis for your plea. I'll accept your no contest plea and find you guilty. I'll reduce this to the minimum $10 fine, which would result in a fine of $73.60. I've got to leave it at 3 points. I don't see any way around that, but 3 points, $73.60. Can you pay for that this evening?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll give you what's called the judgment of conviction. Make sure that you can take that downstairs and go ahead and pay. I read the police report. You thought the lights came on. I thought that before too, so it's an understandable mistake, especially if you're not that familiar with the car. So just make sure that you always have turned on the headlights, but it's a mistake that most people could make, so.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you for coming in then.
Thanks, sir.
Shane Bakken? Shane Bakken, okay. All right. What's that?
This one's 4.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Did I put the wrong number?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Paul Eugene Bears? Do I have your correct address in Church Street in Evansville?
Yes.
All right. You've been cited for operating without a valid license. Citation carries a penalty of $124 and 3 demerit points issued to your driver's license. Do you understand what operating without a valid license is?
Yes.
All right. And you understand it's 3 points, $124.
Yes.
That's $50 plus costs. And the forfeiture range on this is $0 to $200. So you're kind of about a quarter of the way up the scale. Okay, operating without a valid license. Any questions for the court?
Well, I'm in compliance now, because basically it just
Hey, you don't have to tell me
expired.
anything more. What I'll do, let me enter a not guilty plea. I can't,
Okay.
in other words, I can't reduce it any further
Right.
than, but you might be able to reach a prosecutor or deal with the prosecutor. So
Okay.
let me enter a not guilty plea on your behalf. We'll set this matter for a pretrial conference on April 12th. We'll likely have, if you're in compliance, bring proof that you have a valid license to the
Yep.
pretrial conference, and I'm sure that will assist matters. With that, pretrial conferences are held downstairs. Make sure that you appear, because if you don't appear, I'll find you in default and guilty.
Right.
And then I always advise people, go down and take a look at where the room is. It's just downstairs. It'll be marked with pretrial conferences.
All right. Thank
Any
you.
questions?
No.
That'll take care of it for this evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
James Schultz? Good evening, Mr. Schultz. How are you?
Fine.
Do you have your correct address in Broadway Street in Edgerton?
Correct.
Okay. You received a speeding on a city highway citation, 1 to 10 miles an hour on the limit. That carries a forfeiture of $98.80 and 3 demerit points issued to your driver's license. Do you understand what speeding on a city highway is?
I believe so.
Okay. Do you want me to read the statute to you, sir?
No, that's
All right. The forfeiture range on this is, let's see, 4E is $30 to $300. You're at $98.80, which is, you're at the minimum amount of the citation. All right. Any questions for the court?
No.
And now is the time I take the plea options. The plea options are guilty, no contest, or not guilty. I do give a 10-mile-an-hour leeway on this, and a 1 because the reason why I've reached an agreement with the prosecutor, which is a little unusual, but for speedings, if you were to meet with the prosecutor, they would offer a defective speedometer violation that would result in 2 demerit points rather than 3. And that would be the standard offer then. Given that, are you ready to enter a plea at this time?
Yes.
And what would your plea be?
Not guilty.
Okay. Well, the not guilty plea will schedule the matter for a pretrial conference with the city attorney. That will be held on April 12th. Make sure that you appear on that date, because if you don't, I'll default you. I will note for the record, obviously we know each other. You were my business law teacher in high school. So I will tell the prosecutor that as well, so that, you know, I don't think there would be an inherent conflict, but I'll make sure I disclose that to all. And also the fact that we were on the Edgerton Hospital Board together as well. So.
What time is that?
4:45.
45?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's dispatch window downstairs.
Okay. Thank you.
Across from the dispatch window, excuse me.
Okay.
So, if you want, we can give you the notice, Detective Hill can give you the notice, and that will take care of this evening then.
Thanks.
Esther Blackshire? Ms. Blackshire, do I have your correct address in Prairie Street in Stoughton?
Yes, sir.
All right. You received a citation for operating while under the influence. Let me see. And also received a citation for operating with a prohibited alcohol concentration. It's a little more complicated than the previous citation, so let me kind of explain these.
Okay.
I abbreviate it as OWI. It stands for operating a motor vehicle while under the influence of an intoxicant. And the penalties for that is as follows. Now, you were given 2 citations, one for operating while intoxicated and the other with a prohibited alcohol concentration. I can only hear first offenses in this court. This is a civil court. First offense is a civil offense in Wisconsin. Prohibited alcohol concentration means that you had a blood alcohol content of 0.08 or higher. Was that. Now, even though you were given 2 citations, I'll list out the range of penalties for those.
Okay.
But you can only be penalized. I can find you guilty of both, but I can only impose one set of the penalties.
Okay.
And the penalties are, you received a citation amount for $861.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then you took the test, so I know it's not a refusal, but I can revoke your driver's license for 6 to 9 months. And the way I do that is, it depends on your driving, your alcohol content, and if you cause an accident or there other bad driving behavior. Normally, the way I do it is if you're between a 0.08 and a 0.1, I issue a 6-month driver's license revocation. Between 0.15 and 199 is a 7-month, and 0.2 or higher is 8-month. If there was bad driving in there, I up the amount by 1 month then.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's how I decide that. In addition, is there a blood draw on this? Okay. So fine, driver's license revocation. In addition, if you're found guilty, I also have to attend an alcohol and drug assessment class.
That's fine.
And then there will also be 6 demerit points issued to your driver's license. If your blood alcohol content was a 0.15 or higher, the laws mandate that I order an interlock ignition device be installed in all vehicles registered in your name for a period of 12 months Do you know what an interlock ignition device is?
I've heard of them, yes.
That's where you have a tube that you
I've
have to
heard of
blow
'em.
into it. Okay, so you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
In addition to the 12-month IID, I also would have to surcharge you $50 for that as well. Okay, so, and then in addition, I know that the IID, in order to have it monitored, you have to go through a service, and what happens with that is that that's an additional cost in addition to all this, but that's not from the court side, but it's from the installation side. All right, so I talked to you about fine, 6 to 9 months, AODA, 6 points, 1.5 or higher, 12 months, and $50 for an IID, and that's all vehicles registered in your name. So if you have 2 or 3 of them, you have to put them on all of them. And even if you get, if I impose that penalty, you don't drive for a month, for a year, you still have to put it actually on for a year, because even if you sit it out, you know, a lot of people think, oh, if I don't drive for a year, then I'm good. No, the Department of Transportation starts counting once you obtain a valid driver's license, either an occupational license or a regular driver's license then. Okay. So that was set, I said a lot, and these are complicated. Did you understand all the penalties as I've laid them out?
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand what operating while under the influence is?
Yes.
Okay. Did you understand operating with a prohibited alcohol concentration?
Yes.
All right. So I got your address, I got the fines, given all that. And the forfeiture range on what happens is you have to, when they built a $300, I believe, $35 assessment into the citation, so it's $150 to $300, but what that really translates is to, the fine is usually between $800 and $950 is what you're facing with that, so. Okay, given all that, do you have any questions for the court?
No, it ain't gonna make a difference. I'm okay.
Okay, well, now's the time I take the plea options. The 3 plea options are guilty, no contest, or not guilty.
Guilty.
Okay. You understand that with a guilty plea, I must find you guilty?
Yes.
All right. Let me read the police report. I want to make sure I have a factual basis for your plea.
Yes, sir.
And just to make sure, this is your first offense, correct?
Yes. And my last.
It's a long police report. Thank you for waiting. I have the police report. I do find a factual basis, accept your guilty plea and find you guilty. Okay. I will make the finding that your blood alcohol content was a .16, which means, and I will also make the finding that there was no bad driving. So I'll impose a 7-month driver's license revocation on that pursuant to what, to my own, to the chart that I use. Unfortunately, it's 1.6 is higher than 1.5, and the state requires that I order an interlock ignition device be installed on all vehicles registered in your name for a period of 12 months. I do find the forfeiture of 861 to be appropriate, and I'll oppose that. You'll be ordered to take an alcohol and drug assessment class. 6 points will be assessed against your license, and I'll surcharge you $50 for the IID pursuant to state law as well. I don't have a choice in that either. So total forfeiture would be $911.
Okay.
All right, I understand. How much time do you need to pay for the $911?
I'm on disability, so it's gonna take me a minute.
How much do you think you could pay per month?
Probably 150, if I can squeeze out 150.
Here's what I'll do. I'm going to require $100 a month, and we'll see if you can pay it off in 9 months. If you have trouble with that, we'll have a number on the sheets that we give you. Go ahead and call that number. Mary, my clerk, will be able to just indicate that, you need a little bit more time. A lot of times you might have to come back and have a hearing, but I'm okay with it, and usually the prosecutor usually won't object to any type of payment plan either. So rather have you pay, because otherwise all I can do is suspend your driver's license for another year, or collect your refunds, or submit you to state tax. I don't want to do any of that. So okay. All right. Given all that, I need you to sign an assessment, because what you have to do is you have to call a number within 48 or 72 hours, and I'll give you that number if you want to step forward. What this is just, you have to sign up for assessment and driver's safety plan. If you want to review that and sign where it's indicated, that's me, and I'll write that in the signature. Take your time. I'd rather have people read this and then sign blindly. Okay, and then I keep this one, and then you can sign that one, keep that one yourself. I'll go ahead and sign this. I'm gonna go ahead and date this March 22nd. Here, I'll trade you, actually, you can keep that one, and I'll keep this one. Okay, I'm gonna hand you some documents.
I'm gonna send her some the payment plan agreement.
Okay, just $100 per month for that, so, okay. All right. This will cover the assessment and the number, this number right here, I circle that. Call within 72 hours. That's the way to get your license back. Okay, and then this is the interlock ignition device order here. And then this is the interlock ignition device. What's that? I think it's around $1,000 to get it installed. At 500, the installation will be monitored every month too. So I've got a list of the.
If she wants to, the reduction for the cost,
You can complete that, and if you're under the poverty limit, which if you're on disability, increases the likelihood, I can basically knock about half the cost off. Is what that is. If you want to look at it and sign it, and I've got information on occupational license as well. So, okay, now, given all that, okay, I'm going to shut the microphone off for a second. Did you want? All right, microphone's back on. You just take a look at that, and then if you want to fill that out and come back and see me.
If you want to give me a call, I can get a hearing scheduled so that we can get that taken care of. Right with you to that hearing. Yeah. Do you think you would want to do it? Because I could get it scheduled right away.
You know, if you're on disability, are you receiving any income either? Okay, so if it's disabled, I mean, why don't you send her the okay, why don't you send her the indigency forms as well? Because you're receiving SSDI. Indigency means that you're not receiving any income, and with that, you wouldn't have to pay for the forfeiture either under certain circumstances. But we have to have a hearing about that too. So
So it will be April 12th at 6 p.m. But I can send you a notice so you have one.
okay, okay. Thank you for coming in. That's what was so funny. All right. All right, we might as well go through the rest of this. Susan Adams is a default. Courtney Anderson is a default. Stacy Andrus is a default on both citations. 3 citations, excuse me. Shane Bakken is a default. Christopher Blair is a bond forfeiture. Benjamin Boyer is a bond forfeiture. Sean Blythe is a bond forfeiture. Dylan Bovey is a default judgment on both citations. La Shionda Bradley is a default judgment. Damon Brewer is a default judgment.
I don't know if you can, it's Walmart, so I think you can, there's no value listed,
Okay.
just the court.
I'm not going to order restitution because there's no value given. I think, didn't you tell me they have their own system
Right,
set up
this
for?
was from the old
Yeah.
Walmart.
Resdual Brown is a default judgment. Libby Bruning is a default judgment. Christopher Castillo Lane is a default judgment on all 3 citations. Joseph Conant is a default judgment. Elise Cooley is a default judgment. Jerry Curry is a bond forfeiture. Sarah Degner Viveros is a default judgment. Lawrence Dickinson is a default judgment. Stephen Donnellan is a bond forfeiture. Rebecca Jordan Doris is a bond forfeiture. Sean Edge is a default judgment. Kendra Famous is a default judgment. Joshua Faust is a default judgment on both citations. Derek Fosdell is a bond forfeiture. Jacob Gam is a bond forfeiture. Justice Eugene Gimza, any relation? Oh, yeah. This is a bond forfeiture. Karen Goderstedt is a default judgment. Kasha McGreen is a default judgment. Dennis Hawkinson is a bond forfeiture. Logan Hall is a default judgment. Carla Hansen is a default judgment. Freddie Harris is the third is a default judgment. Michael Hensel is a default judgment. Joshua Jimenez is a default judgment. Larry Langmeyer is a bond forfeiture. Jonathan Lopez is a default judgment. Patrick Lord is a default judgment on both citations. Terry Lund is a bond forfeiture. Sean Martin is a default judgment on both citations. Andrew Mathis is a default judgment. Atticus McFarlane is a default judgment. Melissa Meyer is a default judgment. Samantha Missioner is a default judgment. Fatushe Mazzini is a bond forfeiture. Christine Ashley Mitchell is a default judgment on both citations. Donald Moore is a default judgment. Thomas Nauman is a bond forfeiture. Brad Nesbitt is a default judgment. Gary Prochnow is a default judgment on both citations. Sarda Quinn is a default judgment on all 3 citations. Noah Quinton Patrick Reich is a default judgment. Brandy Wright is a bond forfeiture. Jeremy Schmidt is a default judgment. Mark Scott is a default judgment. Janet Segabarth is a default judgment. Janet Segabarth, Sean Segabarth is a default judgment. Ethan Samer is a default judgment on all three citations. Alexis Simonson is a bond forfeiture. Andrew Scolas is a bond forfeiture. Jeremiah James Smith is a default judgment on both citations. Anisha Sotart is a default judgment on both citations. Amanda Stanford is a default judgment. Stephen Heinz Swenson is a default judgment. Tasha, on both citations. Tasha Swenson is a default judgment on all 5 citations. Jaden Tybert is a default judgment. Jaden Che Tybert is a default judgment on, well, actually, it's all 3 citations. It is? Okay. Denise Theus is a, oh, is this contributing to
Right, it comes up with the truancy, but it's parental responsibility.
parental responsibility, and that's a default judgment. Jose Roberto Vieta is a bond forfeiture. 3 citations. Timothy Wagner is a default judgment. Alfonso William Walker is a bond forfeiture. Kerry Wallace is a bond forfeiture. Nicholas Wadesil Baker is a default judgment on both citations. That concludes their initial appearances.
There actually was another theft,
Oh,
but it's an approximate amount, so I don't know if you want to have a hearing before you actually order it. Just
why don't we have a hearing?
Wait for the victim to.
Yeah, no, why don't we wait for the victim to request that? Okay, and then there's a motion to reopen tonight in court.
There's a couple.
One of them I'm gonna recuse myself,
Which one?
this guy.
Because I said he needed to come and prove. He's saying that he never got all 3 citations.
It might be true, so here's what I'm gonna do. I've had some adversarial actions with him, so I'm gonna, we'll see with the motions. I'll probably see if the prosecutor objects. If not,
Okay.
I'll just order it and then
But
recuse
I told
myself.
him, and he also said he sold the place. He was not the greatest.
No,
example, and so,
I know he's not.
and now, and the only reason he contacted us because he's been sent to collections and they've started garnishing his wages. So
Okay.
he's gotten the tickets, he's gotten notices from us, default notices, and collection notices.
Yeah, but I'll tell you more about that later, so.
Okay.
So,
All right. I'm waiting to see if it shows up.
okay. I'll probably grant it anyway, just to make sure
Okay.
there's any.
I'm surprised she's not here. She only had.
Okay, I'm gonna, court's adjourned for approximately 15 minutes. I'll be back. Call the case. Call the case of City of Stoughton versus Christopher Overson. Mr. Overson, if you want to have a seat at the table. Hey, Mr. Overson, I've received a motion to reopen from you, and indicated that you did not receive any of the tickets or collection notices, and that your defense to this, the citation of the property has been sold. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Motion to reopen. Is any objection from the city?
No objection.
Okay. I'll go ahead and reopen this. I'll schedule this matter for a pretrial conference. Let's see, 2017. Schedule this for a pretrial conference on April 12th at 5:15. Pretrial conferences are held. Thanks. Pretrial conferences are held downstairs. There's a conference room marked pretrial conference. At that time, chance that you and the city attorney will meet to see if you can resolve this case. Just so both parties know, Mr. Overson and I have been involved in a couple adverse actions, so if you're unable to resolve the citations between the two of you, I would recuse myself then, and have another judge here, if you're unable to resolve it then. So,
Okay.
okay.
He's in collections and.
Okay. Yes, it's my understanding that STC's been garnishing your wages. I'll vacate the STC notices, and I'll make sure that the garnishments are removed at this point then, so.
Very good.
Okay. With that, any other questions from the city or Mr. Overson?
Nothing further.
Okay, that will take care of it this evening then. Thank you, Mr. Overson.
Thank you.
Fast.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry, you want to finish pretrial?
Yeah, let me finish those first. Okay, I went ahead and approved all the pretrial conferences then. And then, oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, boy. Motion to reopen, she missed her court date. She's in moving and she's being diagnosed, she's receiving treatment for breast cancer. Any objection to reopening it?
No objection,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Okay, somebody completed an assessment. Good.
Great.
That was gone. Okay. Oh, one did not. Well, 50%, that's good. I think I told you, I'm just trying to get them some counseling so they, hopefully we don't see any recidivism or anything,
Right.
so.
It's an interesting one, he already had an OWI, so.
Oh, he should have just submitted that, but, I think I gotta take some action, so. Okay, anything else from the city?
Nothing further, Your
Anything
Honor.
else from Mary?
Do you need to wait though, because, there was a notice for 6 PM for this one, I don't know if you want to not wait or.
Let's see, there's a notice for the underage drinking. I will, you know what, yeah, I'll wait for 5 minutes.
Okay.
There, he was a defendant for a speeding citation today. And are not guilty plea, so you'll be seeing him on the 12th. He was my teacher for business law in high school, so, and I was on a hospital board with him for a few years. So
Okay.
I don't think it's been probably 4 years since I've been on the hospital board. I don't think it would be a conflict, but I wanted to make both parties aware of it then, so.
Thank you.
That's all that came up.
What's the hearing for, Your Honor, for the underage drinking?
It's just to see if they've complied.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'll wait till 6:05, and then I'll adjourn court, and then Mary and I will wait around long enough to see if he appears or not, so.
Okay, thank you.
If he does appear, you don't have any objection to, if he did provide proof that he complied to no driver's license suspension?
No objection, no objection. No objection from me. I was out until midnight in the town of Albion.
Oh, yeah?
They received a CUP application for a quarry,
Oh,
and people aren't happy.
okay. I think I've known about that one,
It
so.
was on the news last night.
Where's the quarry going to be located?
It's going to be located.
Or if it passes, I should say. Where's the proposed location would be better phrase.
On right off of I-39.
On Hillside, you say?
Yeah, near Hillside.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's,
By Rice Lake or closer to, no, it'd be closer to the interstate.
yeah, it's adjacent to the interstate.
Oh, yeah, it's right behind the Comfort Inn.
Yeah, and it's a temporary quarry to serve the construction.
Okay.
people, a bunch of people, homeowners associations on Lake Koshkonong have,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna somehow pollute the lake.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Yeah, it would be.
We were there a long time.
I've been there before at the
Oh.
town of Albion, so for
Oh, I'm
late night
sure.
meetings. Oh. Wait one more minute.
Sounds like it's been the same characters for a long time there.
Sorry. On TV, yes.
I'll note for the record, 6:05, we're waiting for a defendant to appear to provide proof that complied with a, complete an assessment in order to reduce the penalties on underage drinking. I'll note that the defendant did not appear. I'll find that he did not comply and order the driver's license suspension. Thank you, everybody. Court's adjourned.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary. Thanks.